I'm going to tell you something that might be a little difficult to hear. The way that you leave people feeling anxious, drained, sad is partially because you have not taken responsibility for the way you're allowing other people to drain that life force energy from you. If you find that you feel this way often, you're probably a highly sensitive person, an empath, or a highly sensitive empath. And as a highly sensitive empath myself, I have been through the ringer with connections that have drained me. They have held me back, made me question my self-worth, and repeatedly taken advantage of. I have discovered the best ways to protect my own energy, and I'm going to be sharing those today with you. Hola, my beautiful dreamers. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel, where we merge everything cosmic with everything self-development to become our dream selves every day. If that sounds like something you're interested in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell before you leave. That way you don't miss future videos like this one. And if you are interested, you can also follow me on social media platforms for more background content and more cosmic content. You can now also find my Dreamer merch on my official website, linked in the description below, if you want to embody the dreamer in your everyday life. If you are a highly sensitive empath, you have probably been drained by many energy vampires in the past, and I thought there was no better way to round up spooky season with a video about the real horror of being a highly sensitive person, which is encountering energy vampires, energy drainers, and energy harvesters. The key to the advice I'm going to give you today is that this is a way to protect your aura from energy vampires without shutting down your heart or your compassion. I have discovered a way that I can still share my heart, be compassionate, yet not allow people to drain me. And I want to teach you the same. First and foremost, what is a highly sensitive empath and what is an energy vampire? Empaths are typically described as people whose energetic field naturally absorbs emotional frequencies from others. If others in the room are feeling very tense and angry, oftentimes you will absorb that yourself and start to feel tense and angry. And it can become really difficult to determine what your true emotions and thoughts are separate from other people. But if you're a highly sensitive person, you might also be a highly sensitive empath, and you tend to experience sensitivity more so through the nervous system, not just the emotional field. So the symptoms of empathy that you feel may manifest physically in the nervous system. So you may deal with panic attacks, you may deal with a lot of anxiety, restlessness, insomnia, and that's because you're not just feeling the weight of energetic emotions, you are also manifesting it physically, and it is now bleeding into your life and the way that you carry yourself. If you relate to any of this, I want you to just remember that being sensitive in this way is not a weakness. It is a true spiritual gift. You just have to know how to handle it properly. Even though it causes you to bear a more difficult existence, perhaps, it's like what did they say in Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility, right? You just have to be responsible over that spiritual gift that you have been given. I just want to reframe that for you really quick before we talk about energy vampires. You can actually be an empath and be an energy vampire. People who drain energy, who take it, who harvest it from people, they don't always realize what they're doing. This can definitely be a manifestation of the way that our society functions at this point in time. We are taught to constantly take, go, 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 and we are taught to be very selfish. We don't often think of other people. We are also responsible for how we hold our own space and the way it affects others. Empaths are highly aware of this, and that's one of the things that makes it difficult to be an empath. Energy vampires feel for some reason that they need to harvest someone else's energy because they cannot maintain their own. It might be that they are unhappy with their own existence. They might be envious of other people. They feel empty inside. They feel depressed. They feel angry at life. Whatever it is that is happening, oftentimes they gain something. They gain life force energy from other people, indulging in them, helping them, consoling them, giving up basically their energy for the energy vampires. Because without taking your energy, they cannot sustain their own because they have not done the work to do so. Now let's touch on the moon signs that might be most sensitive to absorbing energy. And the reason that I chose to talk about the moon signs that might be most energetically and emotionally sensitive is due to the fact that the moon is our emotional nature. If you don't know much about moon signs in astrology, I do have a video all about it. And once you find your own moon sign, I have a whole playlist on every single moon sign, so you can dive deeper into your emotional nature, and I highly recommend you do that. So I definitely feel that the moon sign is one of the most relevant placements when we're talking about energetic sensitivity. If you have any of the following moon signs, I think that you may be more energetically sensitive in your own way, so you may deal with this more often, and I do recommend you go watch your moon sign videos if you haven't already. First, we have the water moons. We have Pisces Moon, Cancer Moon, and Scorpio Moon, but first let's talk about Pisces Moon. Pisces is a deeply empathetic sign that absorbs a lot of emotional and spiritual energy. That is because Pisces is ruled by the 12th house in astrology, the house of the subconscious realm, of the dream realm. A lot of times Pisces are so highly attuned to the energetic undercurrents of their surrounding that it can be overwhelming to them, especially if you have a Pisces moon. The moon is your emotional nature, and it is also connected to the water sign Cancer. So that is double water. That is double energetic sensitivity here. And that goes for all of the water moon signs. But with Pisces moon, they are a very malleable, mutable moon sign that will absorb energy. It is not natural for Pisces to set boundaries and build boundaries. Quite the opposite. Pisces is the sign of dissolving boundaries, not building them. So if you have this moon sign, you may find that you always absorb and you struggle with setting boundaries. Now for Cancer Moon, another water moon sign, Cancer is actually the sign ruled by the moon. So that makes this double powerful if you have it. Cancer moons are highly energetically sensitive because they rule over the emotional tides of the earth. They're considered the mother figure, so they tend to be extremely parental, and they naturally assume a caretaker, parental, or protector role, especially around people they love. But this can go past people they love. They often do it to people they just know that are in their immediate environment or part of their tribe. If they consider them part of their tribe, even if they have a difficult relationship with one of them, they are still going to protect and nurture because it is in their nature. They have that maternal instinct, and this is not a gender thing at all. This goes for anybody who has a Cancer moon. They tend to have that instinct. Because of that, you have to have emotional boundaries that you might struggle with, and prioritizing yourself is something you might struggle with because you have that motherly nature. You want to understand everybody and protect them and nurture them. But what happens is you might be enabling the energy vampires. Next, we have Scorpio Moon, which is the last water moon sign. Scorpio can be more so a psychic sponge. If you have this moon sign, it is likely that you are constantly picking up and observing things. Scorpio is a huge observational sign. There's not much that gets past the Scorpio. They're hyper aware of things going on because of their psychic sensitivity. It's likely that they can feel that someone is lying. They can tell someone is lying. They can tell that something is off. So because of that, they feel everything so intensely because they are an intense water sign. Their planetary ruler is Pluto, which is the planet of the underworld, the hidden, the shadows, but their original ruler was Mars, and Mars is also a very raw, fiery, intuitive planet because it is connected to the raw life force energy, and it's intense, and like I said, fiery and passionate. So because of that, Scorpio feels very passionately about everything that they encounter, even if it's something small. And this can often drive them into the depths, and they can often find themselves trying to reach out towards connections that are not good for themselves in order to try and feel like they're doing something right, something positive, and something worthwhile. Like they're feeding that passionate emotional energy into something. And this is something that energy vampires will indulge on. They will gorge on a Scorpio's ability to feed so much into somebody, even if it's damaging themselves. Kind of piggybacking off of that, we have Aries Moon. I know this might be a surprising one. A lot of people probably don't expect many of the fire moons to be in here, but I felt compelled to include Aries Moon because I think something that is very overlooked when it comes to Aries in general is their energetic sensitivity. Why? Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. They're the first sign in astrology, meaning they represent the first steps in life, the toddler or the newborn baby, where they are very innocent. And when you think of a kid, you think of someone who can see ghosts, for example. Kids are known to be the most connected to the other realms, to the energy around them. Because of that connection to that raw life force, they are very in tune with what's happening around them. And because they tend to download what's happening very quickly into their nervous system, they tend to react very quickly. And when you're talking about an Aries moon, you're talking about super rapid fire emotional reactions. And a lot of that has to do with what they might be picking up on around them, because again, the moon is the emotional tides. So when you have someone who is connected to that raw life force energy, they are connected to the emotional tides so heavily and so quickly and intensely that it might cause them to lash out very quickly or feel overwhelmed and like everything's overbearing. And that's kind of one of the reasons an Aries moon might have volatile emotional states. It might not be just because of them. It's because they're feeling and picking up on everything that's happening around them and reacting very intensely to it. Next, we have the Libra moon. Now, Libra moon is more so not just about picking up on the emotional state of people, even though it can be a moon sign that picks up on the emotional state very well. It's also just the fact that Libra tends to be naturally in tune with what people need, what makes them tick in order to reach harmony. Libra is symbolized by the scales. So Libra is all about constantly trying to reach harmony. And this can be a blessing and a curse, because even though they can have tons of social tact and charisma because they just know what people need and what people respond to, it can be a curse sometimes because they are so dead set on obtaining and maintaining harmony, because that's what makes them feel emotionally regulated and emotionally okay and safe. So they might find themselves going the extra mile to try and make somebody happy who is an energy vampire. They might think that they're working towards achieving harmony and looking to please the other parties when the other parties are just taking advantage of them. And this is what can be the dangerous territory when it comes to energetic vampires for a Libra moon. Next, we have Virgo and Gemini moon. I wanted to group these two together because Virgo and Gemini moons function very similarly when it comes to energetic sensitivity. The reason being that both are ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication and the mental process. That means that these two are wired by the nervous system. They are hyper connected to the nervous system. This is why a lot of people with heavy Virgo and Gemini placements deal with a lot of anxiety. They tend to be extremely anxious and always anticipating the next thing, moving extremely fast. And one of the things that contributes to that anxiety is the way that they're always picking up on their environment. It doesn't just have to be that they feel things emotionally in their environment the way that water moon signs do. It's more so that they are witnessing everything. There is hardly a pattern that escapes them, and that can drive them nuts because it can send them into a mental oblivion. And they might find themselves trying their hardest to overcome this, to make amends with the people around them, or to please the people around them, or to serve them, or communicate with them, or try to understand. When it comes to Virgo, Virgo feels better when they feel like they're in control of a situation. So that can be good for energy vampires because Virgo moons can see them as a project. Even if the Virgo moon doesn't realize that, they can see them as a project where they're like, oh, they'll be okay if I can take care of them and I can tell their patterns, I can tell what they need. And they'll take that upon themselves and they'll go to the ends of the earth to take care of somebody. With the Gemini moon, it's more so the fact that they are communicators. They're super open-minded communicators that want to understand everything and everyone. Because of that, they may give certain people the benefit of the doubt that don't need the benefit of the doubt. They're just going to continue stealing that Gemini moon's energy. Next, let's talk about mental and emotional tips for detachment. First and foremost, I just want to say that detachment does not have to equal lack of heart or lack of compassion. Detachment does not mean that you do not care. It simply means that you care, but not at the expense of losing yourself. So my biggest tip as someone myself who has struggled with absorbing other people's emotions and energies and allowing it to get to me, and I'm not going to act like I'm not still guilty of this at times. I'm not going to act like I'm perfect and that once you follow these tips, you're going to be perfectly fine. It's going to be an ebb and a flow. Everything in life is an ebb and a flow, but you want to be on an upwards trajectory where you are reinforcing your boundaries with time. And it does take time, and that's okay. Be patient with yourself. But with that being said, my biggest piece of advice is to observe people, not to absorb them energetically. One of the things that has helped me is when I'm in a space that is making me feel emotionally overwhelmed, or I feel like people in it are trying to take my energy from me. Part of the reason you feel like they're taking your energy is because you're allowing them to. I know a lot of us don't want to hear that. We want to assume the victim mentality as a highly sensitive person, which I understand. However, you cannot control what other people are doing. You cannot control the way they perceive you, the way they act towards you or around you, etc. You have to be able to control and reinforce yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. And when you continuously expect someone else to do it for you, that is how you continue letting energy vampires take your energy successfully. That is how you end up drained, insecure, taken advantage of, angry, etc. At the end of the day, these people who are trying to affect your energy, absorb it, steal it, they don't actually have the power and the authority to take your energy unless you allow them to. So I like to kind of see their emotions as, okay, I see that your emotions are this. I see that your emotions are a unicorn. However, my emotions are not a unicorn. My emotions are a mushroom. Cool. That's the difference. And you let it go. You let it pass. You do not take it on yourself, because why are you doing that? When people start to see that they can affect you, where they can be, petty towards you or angry at you or whatever, and they see that they can affect you, now they know they have that power over you. So they will continue to use it because it makes them feel more empowered energetically. It makes them feed their own life force because they're taking yours. Don't let them. You do not have to absorb what people are trying to feed you. That is my number one tip for emotionally detaching and mentally detaching from what energy vampires, energy harvesters are trying to throw at you. And we encounter it every day, and it can be easier said than done. But again, with time, patience, and constantly reminding yourself in those moments when you feel yourself starting to get triggered and drained, figure out how you can return to yourself. How can you become the observer rather than the absorber in these situations? Number 2, protect yourself through awareness and learning how to self-regulate. You have to learn how to self-regulate because, again, if you rely on other people to make you feel validated and okay, you are sort of kind of sharing that with an energy vampire. An energy vampire expects other people to feed them, to feed their life force. If you are also expecting people to validate you and regulate you, you're kind of being an energy vampire yourself. And that might be the hard truth to hear. So you need to learn how to self-regulate. I also ask myself, is this emotion my responsibility? Is it mine to carry? I can have compassion for what they're going through, and I can understand that they're going through something difficult or they're feeling something difficult, but do I have to carry it? Is it my burden or my responsibility? Absolutely not. A truth that I constantly remind myself in these moments where I start to feel like something might be mine to carry and I'm going to start burdening myself with it is to think about the universe, to think about God, whatever you want to call it. The universe is always protecting you. You have divine protection. No one, again, no one has the power or the authority to take that divinity from you. But I like to remind myself, you're protected. You're divinely protected at all times. The only time that you're not is when you believe that you're not, and you're handing that over to other people. You do not have to carry this. If you're worried that they're not going to like you or whatever because you're not giving yourself over the way they want you to, the way that they're making you think you have to in order to be considered compassionate or empathetic, no. Energy vampires will tell you who you are and feed off of the fact that you don't know who you are or you're insecure in who you are, because that gives them power. You must know yourself to regulate yourself, and you must also keep that faith to regulate yourself, faith that you are protected. Number 3, you must realize that building boundaries does not mean that you are neglecting or rejecting someone. Saying no does not mean that you are rejecting someone. It means that you are respecting and managing your own energy properly. You manage your energy in a way that shares it responsibly and with discernment. If anyone makes you feel like you are wrong for doing that, they're an energy vampire hands down, and you do not need to listen to them. In fact, there's a lot of times where you can see it as doing them a favor. If this is someone that you love and you really care about, that is something that I've struggled with, okay? When I love somebody, I really believe in them. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt time and time again. But sometimes what you're doing is you're enabling somebody. You're enabling their vampire tendencies. Sometimes when you say no to someone who is an energy vampire, you are actually helping them. You can kind of think of it as maybe a little kid that wants another piece of cake. Cake is not good for them, but if you keep giving it to them, they're gonna have it. They're gonna eat it. But if you say no, and they start crying and screaming and throwing a tantrum, and then you feel bad and you give them another piece of cake, you're enabling a very, very unhealthy, possibly deadly behavior. In the end, you're giving them a healthier lifestyle. You're helping them. Saying no does not have to mean that you don't care. It can actually mean quite the opposite. It can be because you do care, and you are choosing not to just to care about yourself, but to care about them too. You are going to say no. Sharing your energy without boundary does not always mean that it's showing that you care. It can actually be showing that you lack self-respect, or that you are also seeking energy from somebody else because you also do not feel fulfilled, or you also feel insecure. So you are also benefiting from that vampire relationship because you want to feed off of them as well, because they are satiating something in you. You teach others how to treat your energy field. You are the governor of your own energy field, not other people. 4th, you must work on your own sense of self-worth. Going back to what I said about you need to know yourself in order to self-regulate, you have to work on your sense of self-worth. Because if you are never able to feel like you believe in yourself or you know who you are, you cannot protect yourself against energy vampires. Something that I've done in the past, and this has been a large part of my own shadow work and facing my own demons, was truly taking a hard look at myself in the mirror and asking, why did I allow someone to steal my energy and have such a large effect on my life? What was it about me that was allowing that to happen? And what part of me felt like it was gaining something from that experience, even though the experience was toxic and it was detrimental to my mental, emotional, and my physical health? Why did I allow that? A lot of times we do not look at ourselves. We only look at what the other people are doing. We only look at what the energy vampires are doing. But it is essential that you take a hard look at yourself and you ask, why did I allow that? What is it that might be going on with me on a deeper level that I don't realize that is allowing me to let people steal my energy? That is a huge journal prompt recommendation on my part, is that you take the time to really sit down and ask yourself that question and write an answer to it. And it might take time to uncover that, but I would recommend you start now. under that same umbrella, I need you to stop trying to figure out why someone doesn't like you. If you're anything like me, you may have had a lot of maybe betrayals, difficult friendships, difficult relationships. I kept trying to figure out, why did this person end up treating me this way? Why don't they actually like me? Why do they hate me? And those were questions I kept asking myself because I loved and cared about those people. And I just wanted to understand. A lot of people struggle with communication. You cannot always expect other people to appease you and communicate with you and tell you why or this and that. You have to, once again, learn how to self-regulate. Even if an energy vampire is not actively doing anything to you, if you are constantly worried about what people are thinking of you, what they might be saying about you, why they maybe might not like you, or why they might not invite you places, the list goes on, you're letting them steal your energy without anything even actively happening. Because you are creating a narrative based on your own insecurity. This is another place that you need to start. You need to ask yourself, what insecurity do I have that might be contributing to why I always worry about people not liking me? If you are so worried about being accepted and liked, people who do not deserve your life force energy can feed off of it because you want to be accepted so badly. You must work on your own sense of self-worth. Get deep into the shadow work and then work on your self-worth from that foundation up. Now let's tie everything together with some spiritual protection tips. My first tip to start protecting yourself spiritually from energy vampires is to reconnect with your body regularly and ground it by doing so. Whether it's through breath work, stretching, or repeating mantras as you have your hands placed over your heart, you need to regularly tap into your nervous system. This is something that has helped me immensely, especially in moments where I start to feel myself getting wired because I can feel the overwhelm of everything going on around me, or I am emotionally burdened by something that happened to me. I know that I need to reconnect with my nervous system because if I don't, I can feel myself start to mentally and emotionally spiral because we can be so in our heads or in the energy of other people that we can start to feel like a living tornado. And one of the best ways to stop that in its tracks is to slow down by reconnecting with your body. One of my favorite ways to do so is through light yoga, and I'm not some super talented yogi. I just do some beginner yoga, and alone is enough. That alone is enough to bring me back to the present and to ground myself back in my body. Sometimes I will stop and breathe. I'll place my hands over my heart and I'll just do some breath work because that also slows your nervous system physically and allows you to regroup and reground. This is essential because you cannot allow people to constantly whisk away your energy from you. The more that you reinforce your spiritual grounding, the less that people can just sweep you up in the worst ways. Second is I highly recommend allowing yourself to have an environment that emotionally grounds you as well. Things I like to instill in my environment are certain crystals, constant incense. I light an incense every day, maybe two. I always have candles on hand. I like to open my door to allow air to come through, fresh air to circulate through my environment. Your home environment can be a key place for you to regroup when you are overwhelmed. And if you are maybe living with other people and you're not alone, this can be more difficult. Trust me, I know. And I'm not saying that it's not going to be a struggle, but if you can curate any small amount of a grounding space for yourself, even if it's just your own bed, even if it's just that, maybe placing certain crystals around you. I highly recommend obsidian and black tourmaline for energy protection. I also recommend having some selenite around because selenite is an energy cleanser. It helps cleanse your aura. It represents purity. I like to have a selenite wand sitting around and then having obsidian and black tourmaline as an energy protector. Your selenite is like your white light, your divine protection, and then the black tourmaline is like a shield around that divine protection. These are ways you can curate your environment to be like a spiritual shield. So when you go home, you can regroup and reground your energy. Again, the more that you build that up over time and increase its strength, the less that people can just easily grab it and take it from you. Lastly, one of my favorite things to do, and this kind of feeds into the energetic environment, is to play healthy frequencies. I love to play uplifting frequencies every single morning because a lot of times when I wake up, I feel my energy already starting to escape from me to other things and other people. So what I'll do is I'll immediately light an incense in the morning and I will turn on some frequencies that are healthy to listen to. Some examples are 396 hertz, which release fear and restore grounding. 528 hertz, which promote heart alignment and energetic healing, and I'm huge on aligning the heart chakra. Lastly is 741 hertz, which clears energy blocks and intuition fog. This is a way you can also set your environment to be more peaceful. Or maybe if you're out in the world and you have earbuds, you can play these frequencies while you're out and about to help keep yourself grounded. With all of that being said, I need you to remember that your sensitivity is a sacred power. It truly is. And I never want anyone to be able to make you doubt that the way that I have doubted it time and time again. I want us all to know how powerful we are and that we just need to know how to use that power. So if you resonated with this, be sure to comment your moon sign if you have any of the ones that I mentioned, and or comment on how you protect your own energy from energy vampires. But until I see you all in the next video, thank you so much for being here. Adios.